Captain Ibrahim Traoré.
Ibrahim Traoré.
Ibrahim Traoré.
Ibrahim Traoré.
Keep this photo safe as it forms the foundation of today's story. When I looked at it, a thought came to mind. If you don't have the strength to finish a fight, don't start it. We all have moments of doubt. We all have our weaknesses and we all have our faults. No one is perfect. Why did this thought come to my mind? It's because this photo was taken between 2009 and 2010. The person in the photo was about 20 years old at the time, very young and just starting his military training. The photo was taken in a military camp during that period. At that time, this man, a beginner soldier with a private rank, didn't realize that he would one day become one of the most influential leaders of all time, achieving what many could never have imagined through a coup. Today, he is youngest president in world and has become a powerful political force, making headlines worldwide with his extraordinary actions. But first, let me take you back in time to a long time ago. On September 5th, 1852, in a building called Corinthian Hall, a well-known abolitionist, Frederick Douglass, stood before the Ladies' Anti-Slavery Society and spoke words that flowed like blood in the veins of African Americans. Even today, those words continue to circulate across the hills and valleys of Africa because they marked the moment when African Americans in the USA began to rise against oppression. At that time, Frederick Douglass boldly said,
"Listen and hear me well. A slave who does not fight for his freedom, who refuses to rise against bondage, will remain a slave forever and does not merit concern."
He meant that a slave who does not struggle to free himself from slavery will always remain enslaved, and such a person does not deserve any comfort. When we talk about a slave who does not deserve to be concerned because he sits back and waits for others to come and free him, it reminds me of words recently spoken at the 2023 Afro-Russian Summit in St. Petersburg, Russia. These words came from a young man, a former soldier, and now the father of 2 children, who has become a symbol of defiance against the European colonizers who continue to take advantage of Africa with their dishonest tactics. The person I am referring to is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, who was present at a conference with some of the world's greatest leaders, including President Vladimir Putin, who vowed to stop Washington's interference in the politics of other countries. Ibrahim Traoré said,
"Not a single question that is being asked. We don't have an answer. And it turns out that here we can wash our linseed because we feel like a family. It feels like a family in the sense that Russia is also a family for Africa."
He accurately quoted the words Frederick Douglass said in 1852, which means this young man thoroughly read books without skipping and understood what was hidden within them. Those from the West call him a military junta, but he says that this also speaks to him. As for others who have heard what he says, what he does, and his political struggles, they immediately accepted what Magdalena Villaba called metempsychosis in 1976. In this theory, this scholar boldly claimed that in this mindset, when a person dies, their soul leaves their body and wanders in the air until it enters another person who then acts and behaves as the previous person did. Those who observed this concluded, no doubt, when Thomas Isidore Noel Sankara, the hero and renowned figure from Burkina Faso, died tragically on October 15, 1987, his soul left Ouagadougou, where he died, and traveled past the Kokologo region, passing through the bowls of Koudougou and Dédougou. By the following year, 1988, it had settled in the commune of Bundukui, where Ibrahim Traoré was born that same year and grew up to resemble Thomas Sankara. The prophecies in the writings of Magdalena Villaba, Kurt Friedrich Gödel, and Arthur Schopenhauer, which claimed souls would leave one person and enter another, were fulfilled in the land of Burkina Faso, known as the land of upright men, as the people of Burkina Faso proudly say in their praises and tributes to their hero, Thomas Sankara. Up until now, if you've been paying attention, the main story is about sharing some specific details about the world's youngest president. The president of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. I know you've heard a lot about him, but let me tell you something unique that you might not have known about this man who chose not to laugh, because there is nothing to laugh about in this world. let's dive into the thoughts and ideologies of this bold man who swore to lead the country, wearing face masks like the ninja warriors from faraway lands such as Yamashiro, Iga, and Yamato. I'm sharing how this man, respected and revered in Africa, lives a humble life without the luxury cars that many other African presidents enjoy, while their citizens suffer from hunger and poverty in their countries. In the 2 years he has been in power, Traoré rejected the salary that presidents usually receive and chose to continue his salary as a military captain. Do you know why? Because he lives in a simple house, not a palace like others. You should also know about this man's survival of a sinister plot to overthrow him, a conspiracy funded with 5 billion CFA by some of his enemies. You should understand the depths of his life and how he has transformed his country, Burkina Faso, in just 2 years in power. At this point, one might wonder, who is Captain Ibrahim Traoré? Where did he come from to find himself in the highest seat of power in Burkina Faso? The countdown begins now. Welcome to the world of research. Welcome to the large family of wisdom in narrations. Captain Ibrahim Traoré was born on 14th March 1988 in Kera, Bondokui, Muhun province of Burkina Faso. He attended primary school in his hometown Bondokui and secondary school in Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso's second largest city. In this school, he was known as being quiet and very talented. Unlike his predecessor, Damiba, and many other Burkinabe officers who embraced a military career as teenagers, Ibrahim Traoré had a civilian background before joining the army. In 2006, he moved to Ouagadougou, the capital, to study geology at the Joseph Kizerbo University. In the latter, he rose to delegate and became known for defending his classmates in disputes. He graduated from the university with honors. In 2009, Ibrahim Traoré took a bold decision and joined the Georges Namwano Military Academy. This academy is a second-tier institution compared to the prestigious Kadiogo Military Academy, KMP, of which Thomas Sankara and the former President Damiba are alumni. Upon his graduation in 2012, he was sent to Morocco for anti-aircraft training before being transferred to an infantry unit in Kaya, a town in northern Burkina Faso. 2 years later, in 2024, he was promoted to lieutenant. After serving in relatively junior positions in Burkina Faso's military, Traoré's major breakthrough came in the same year of promotion, 2014, when he was deployed to Mali as a soldier under the United Nations peacekeeping mission program, MINUSMA. In Mali, Traoré cut his teeth fighting the jihadists and ethnic insurgents. According to various accounts, Traoré showed bravery in the face of a complex attack by militants in the northern Tombouctou region. This was in 2018. The following year, in 2019, he participated in a military operation codenamed Operation at Djibo in the Otapuanu offensive in Burkina Faso's restive east for 7 months and several other counterinsurgency operations in the country's north. Despite being touted as a major success, this operation resulted in only temporary withdrawal by militants from the region and a corresponding increase in attacks elsewhere in the country. Ibrahim Traoré also served in a detachment of Marcoye in the northern Sahel region at the so-called Three Borders Zone of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger on the front lines against jihadist groups, and took part in several operations there. People who knew Traoré at the time said that he exhibited leadership attributes, including being willful, courageous, and close to his men. Ibrahim Traoré was promoted to the rank of captain in 2020. Around the same time, however, he was among the young and destitute officers who couldn't help observing their superiors' inability to contain the jihadists' threat in the field. Traoré and his fellow officers were stuck between a rock and hard place. One source recounted an incident that occurred in 2020 when the town of Barsalogo in central Burkina Faso was on the verge of falling to jihadists. The highway into Barsalogo was believed to have been mined, so Traoré led his men on a commando trek across the countryside, arriving in time to free the town. In Burkina Faso, the attacks by the jihadist groups include armed attacks, abductions, carjackings, improvised